Hey guys, CBHolo1 here. Welcome back to another video, and today we've got this. This is my friend's Lionel 6-18301. It's a Southern FM Trainmaster, and it's got some issues with the driveline that I'm going to be fixing today. So this engine has a cracked plastic gear, and I believe it's the front truck. So the motor's not actually driving this truck. This has two old Pitman motors, and they're not powerful enough, or I guess the one is not powerful enough to on its own drive this whole locomotive. So when I go to run it and I put power on the track, it starts shorting because of the amount of current draw. It actually tricks the CW80 into thinking that there's a short on the track, but there's not. It's just this one motor is pulling so many amps to move this thing that it thinks there's a short. So I got to get this motor actually driving this front truck, but to do that, because I can't replace the plastic gear that's in there, I got these. So these are replacement trucks from Lionel. I've got two of them, one for the front, one for the rear, because the rear also has the plastic gear. But these have metal gears in them, so they should last a lot longer. There's a couple interesting things about this. One, the metal gear. I like it. It's definitely handy. Two, the middle axles here are different, or the middle wheels here are different. So I don't know. I don't know what that's for. And then I also need to transfer over the coupler from the existing one. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. So anyway, let's get started by taking the shell off of this guy. So this engine, it's pretty easy. There are two screws, one on each end of the frame. You can see there's one here. And then there's another one on the opposite side. And then once those two screws are removed, the shell just comes off. Very simple design, very nice. So this is an MPC era Lionel, so it's got some amount of sounds, and this does work. It sounds awful, but it works. It's not even like the Mighty Sounds of Steam where it's passable. Like, this is just bad, but whatever. The unit is in really good shape. It's the truck that's the issue, and I'm going to see if I can demonstrate it here. Yeah, so right now I'm actually spinning the motor, which is nice, but as you can tell, I can't spin it the other way, which is problematic. So let me get this truck off and I can show you guys what I'm talking about. Alright, so there's two screws you got to remove in order to remove this truck. There is one here on the bottom of the truck. And then once you've removed that screw, the motor assembly can come off. And then there's another screw that is holding on the center rail pickup. And once you've unscrewed that, that comes off. There's a little insulating washer here, and your pickup roller comes off. And now you've got an isolated truck assembly. And in there is the gear that is cracked. I lie, I don't actually see it, so maybe it's the other truck. Regardless, I've got two trucks, so I'm going to be replacing both of them. So let's grab the new truck, throw some grease in there. I also need to remove this coupler so that I can transfer that to the new truck. And the new truck's got new side frames. And you can see here, the center axle on this is flanged, and the rear is flangeless, and it's got the same flangeless wheel. So I don't know. But regardless, new truck's going on, so let's get into it. So I got this truck all greased and oiled up. All the new gears, and then this gear, which only contacts the motor, but do some grease on it. So that should be good to go there. So now I got to get the coupler off of this guy, and to do that, I'm just going to take this screw out. Whole front piece comes off. and then I got to try to release this C-clip, which I'm going to do off camera, and that should drop the C-clip, the retainer, spring, the washer that's up there, and this whole assembly should just pull right out. And then I can swap it over into this guy, and then we can mount this onto the locomotive. So I got all the pieces out. So it's got this plastic T-pin, which slides into the coupler, which then slides through the frame, or the truck frame, and it clicks in there pretty good. Has more resistance than I would care for, but it seems to be good. Okay. And then we put on our release arm for the mechanical coupler release. Drop on our washer, our spring, our retainer, and then the fun part, I gotta slide this clip back on. There we go, just like that. And now, a little shaky, but we got our coupler. It's got its release, so now I can take the coupler frame, or I guess the pilot steps, since this is the pilot of the locomotive. It does not have a fixed pilot because it's from, you know, MPC era. Alright, so now I can throw my insulation plate back in, grab my pickup roller, slide that back on the bottom. It's got all sorts of locating pins to help you install it. Grab my third rail wire, try and slide it in. I know, you guys can't see anything. It's okay, I can't either. I'm doing this away from me. I'm just guessing. I think I got it though. I did, haha. You really only just have to get it started just so it holds the whole assembly together. And then you can tighten it down. So I'm just putting my finger in here so that I can crush my hand in the frame while I hold the mount in place while I tighten down that screw. So now I'm gonna go wipe all the grease off of this motor, and then we can install the motor back into the truck. Alright, all the old grease has been removed. There's plenty of fresh grease on the new truck. So now the motor just slides in, flip it back on its side, take our motor screw, tighten it down, and now I should be able to rotate the wheels, which it is doing, using the motor in both directions. And it's incredibly smooth. Like, holy smokes. That is easy. Which, I mean, I guess it should be. It's brand new. Alright, so I'm going to do that process again on the back truck, and I'll see you guys when that's done. So this is the truck with the cracked gear. You can see it down there. This one was free spinning on the motor. So this is the one that needed to get replaced. I recommended he get both for a couple reasons. One, you don't have a good-looking truck next to a bad-looking truck. Also, if this gear cracked, it's only a matter of time until this one does too. So I'm in here, I've got it, just get it out of the way. He authorized the repair, he paid me money for the parts, so everything's all fine there. But yeah, so let's swap everything over and get the new truck installed. Alright, let's fire it up, see what we get. Same problem it had before. Great. It wants to. It just won't do it. First, I'm going to disconnect each one of these motors and figure out which one is the one that's problematic, or if they're both problematic, and then I'm going to go from there. So I've got one motor pulled apart here, and well, one's running, and this one is not, because I pulled it apart. So I'm going to guess that this one is the one that's causing the problems. So I found the problem being this. this winding on this pole is broken. So it's not doing anything. So it's only running on these two poles, which doesn't work. So I've got two options. I can rewind this pole, or I could get a new rotor assembly, which they don't sell. So I'd have to buy a whole motor to replace this broken winding. So I asked my friend about it, and he said to just get the whole new motor because he's already putting 2 new trucks on it. He just wants it to run for as long as it can, as smooth as it can. So I know that the one motor works just fine. It runs good. So he's just gonna have another brand new motor, and this one is gonna go on the shelf for me to rewind someday. But that means I got to go order that and get it shipped here. So it won't be here until a couple days from now. But that's where I'll see you guys again. So yeah. Also, side note, I mistakenly called these Pitmans earlier. These are not Pitman motors. Pitman motors are DC can motors. These are Pullmore motors that Lionel used forever. And they're also called universal motors because they work on AC and DC. And they're very complicated in their function. So I'm not even going to try to explain it. There's a couple threads online that explain it very well. But anyway, I'm going to buy a new motor, and I'll see you guys when I get it. Alright, so I got my order from Lionel. The cat did not come with the order. It's got a motor and some speakers. So this is a 2-inch pancake speaker that I want to try out for my Atlantic Coastline GP7, and then this is what I think was the original speaker. So I'm going to try this out first because this is closer to what was originally in it. But the thing that actually matters for this video is this guy. This is a brand new Pullmore motor, theoretically with capacitors, per the listing. Let's find out here. Oh yeah, what do you know? It's got capacitors on it. Wow, this is definitely old stock. Huh. Okay. Interesting. Well, let me throw some oil and grease on this thing and try and get it cleaned up a little bit here. And we'll take a closer look at it. So I went ahead and I took the old motor out here, the one that's bad, and this is the new one, and I can't tell which one came later than the other one. This one has, it looks like a newer stamping, but this one's got like these little wires that run from the capacitors. First of all, it's got capacitors, which is meant to silence the electronic noise. Usually better for electric railroad applications than it is for this stuff, but it does a non-zero amount. But it's got these little wires that run from the terminals here into the brushes, rather than solely relying on this little metal spring to make electrical contact with the brushes. So I thought that was pretty interesting. In my head, this one should be just better than this one is, so this would be newer, but the plastic molding and stamping would suggest otherwise. So I'm not entirely sure, but if you guys know, drop a comment and let me know, because I'd be really curious as to which one of these motors is actually newer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take all the wires off of this and transfer it over to this unit, and then we'll install it. Here's the old motor, and by the way, this is what I'm talking about with the molding looking newer than the big Lionel that's on this. But anyway, either way, it's a motor. It should do motor related things. So let's slide it in here and get it nested. Grab my mounting screw. Now that the motor's in, let's power it up and see what happens here. Well, I guess I'm doing more digging. So at first I started thinking, maybe the E unit's bad. But before I got too far into that, you see I was ready to swap it out with this guy. I was like, okay, well, I tried disconnecting this motor and it didn't fix the problem, but I didn't try disconnecting this motor. So let's try that and see what happens. And I powered it up. And it runs real nice. So I guess this is my issue, but now I gotta figure out why. Alright, so here's where I'm at. I can, with this motor connected and this motor disconnected, I get both directions, no problems at all. If I switch it and I hook up this motor and disconnect this motor, poof, like so, I get, it's a little bit more stubborn, but I get both directions just fine. So now when I hook them up together, and if I power it up, you can see it's fighting. I can almost get it to go if I really slam it, but it just doesn't want to. I had both motors disconnected and I had them running just on their own for like 15-20 minutes just to run them in, specifically this one because it's brand new. And as you saw, it was running really smooth, but for some reason I put the two together and it just doesn't work. So my current theory is that this dual motor setup is just too much for my little CW80 to handle, and it really needs like a ZW or some sort of 180 watt system, but I'm not sure. So for right now, I think I might tinker with this a little bit more, and if I figure something out, you'll see this view again in the next shot, and if I don't, it'll have a shell on it. So unfortunately, I just wasn't able to get this engine running smoothly with both motors connected. I don't know if it's something I did wrong with the wiring, or if my commutators are clocked wrong, or something like that. If you guys have any guesses, please drop a comment below. I'm all ears. I love hearing what you guys suggest about stuff, and I will throw anything at the wall to see what sticks with this engine, because I would like it to run on this little transformer. However, I do have a little bit of evidence to support my theory that this transformer is just not powerful enough. I have one other engine in my fleet that has a very similar drivetrain to this. It's dual motor and magnet traction, and that is my post-war Lionel Santa Fe F3. Again, very similar, magnet traction, dual motor, put it on a CW80, and doesn't run. It does a very similar thing to what this does. The bulb starts flashing, and it just doesn't get enough power to move anywhere. So if you take that same engine and you put it on the layout that I always ran it on, and you can see on my channel, that layout is powered by a post-war ZW, and it gives me no problems at all. But that ZW has a lot higher of a wattage than this little CW80, which is an 80 watt transformer. So that kind of backs up my theory. I'll be able to test it for sure once I can get this on some other layout that has a ZW hooked up. My layout right now is in storage. My post-war ZW is in storage and also has a nasty habit of popping breakers every time I plug it into something and then unplug it. It works fine when you're trying to operate the thing, but the second you unplug it, it blows a breaker. I have no clue why. But yeah, anyway. So if I can get this engine tested and running on a bigger transformer, then all's fine and dandy. I'll upload a video of some running shots, and you guys can have a little bit of closure on what actually happened with this engine. If I can't get it to work on a bigger transformer, you guys are going to get a part 2 of this video when I just throw everything at this to make it work. Because as much as this engine is old and the horn is, you know, it does deserve to be fixed and ran. That is what trains are for. So, yeah, we'll see what happens when I can put this on a layout with a bigger transformer. But until then, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed. I'm sorry I couldn't get this thing running the way that I wanted to get it to run on this test track, but sometimes that's just the way that it goes. So anyway, maybe you all learned something from this. Again, if you guys have any feedback for what I could possibly do to make this engine work, let me know in the comments. If you saw me doing something wrong in this video, let me know in the comments. Again, open to all feedback. So thank you so much for watching. And yeah, anyway, I am CWHolo1, and have a good day, or maybe good night in your case. See ya.